All right, here is my response to the response to my response to the response to my original video. Okay, first off, I just want to echo something that he said in his response video, and that is that people are talking about this as if it's a beef of some sort. I don't think that's true. I think this is just a friendly, spirited debate between two people who are passionate about language. So the crux of his argument is that spelling pronunciation is sometimes okay. He gives an example of an Arabic loan into Persian, but I'm just going to give an example from English to make things easier. So the word often historically has had a silent T for the past few hundred years. It's the same silent T we see in words like soften, whistle, castle, etc. But you've probably heard some people pronounce it as often, and that's through spelling pronunciation. Even though it was originally pronounced often, people saw the T in there and started reintroducing the T back into the word. Often. So does that make often a mispronunciation? Well, no. Just because often is original and often only came about because of spelling pronunciation, that doesn't make it incorrect. There's a large contingent of speakers who say often, so it's a correct pronunciation under descriptivism. So under that logic, it seems like spelling pronunciation is okay. So it's okay to say epitome as epitome, or it's okay to say Niger as Niger. So that's the argument, which I think is fair, but to me it seems like a bit of a slippery slope into arguing that there's no such thing as incorrect pronunciations. So for example, if I pronounced this word as pizza, would that be incorrect? I mean, think about it. According to English spelling rules, a word like this should probably be pronounced something like pizza. It's a spelling pronunciation, so does that make it correct? If you're really willing to bite the bullet on that, and if you really think that pizza is a valid pronunciation, then I think I'm just gonna have to agree to disagree with you. I think reductio ad absurdum at this point kind of sounds like you don't think mispronunciations exist. I think the more logical rebuttal is to say, okay, yes, pizza is a mispronunciation, but that's meaningfully different from something like epitome. There are plenty of native English speakers who say epitome, but there are not really native English speakers who say pizza. So that's the distinction, right? Are there groups of speakers who actually use the pronunciation or not? But where do we draw the line here? Like, I've heard some people pronounce subtle as subtle, and some people pronounce pseudonym as pseudonym, but this is really few and far between. Like, are those really valid pronunciations? So here's my new theory. I think spelling pronunciations are kind of like a spectrum. On one end, you have words like pizza, which are clearly not valid pronunciations because no one says them. And on the other hand, you have words like often, which clearly are valid pronunciations. Often has become so normalized that often is a distinction pretty much akin to tomato. Now, every other spelling pronunciation falls somewhere on this spectrum depending on how often people use it. So the question I pose to you is, where do you draw the line between incorrect pronunciations and correct pronunciations? I think the dividing line should be much closer to the right. I don't think it's enough for people to just see the word online once and then therefore think it's pronounced a certain way. No, I think people need to grow up with that pronunciation, hearing it in their community for it to be considered correct. But maybe you think the dividing line should be much closer to the left. Maybe you think that, yeah, epitome is a valid pronunciation, as long as there are native speakers who are saying it consistently. So whether or not these pronunciations are considered incorrect, I think just depends on where you decide to draw the line. All of this is a moot point anyway, because I'm actually in favor of prescriptivism in some environments. I'm making a video about that. I'm going to post it tomorrow, don't worry.